All right. We're good to go, right, Tara?
Think so. It still says it's going, but I don't know if anyone's getting a message that this is being recorded. I haven't seen it. You all have it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. For some reason, I got an error message, but yep, it looks like we're good. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the September CAG meeting. Hope everyone's doing all right. Thank you as always for making the time to be here. And I will turn it over to Ethan.
Thank you, Paula. Hello, everybody. My name is Ethan Kraft. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one moment. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
My name is Ethan Kraft. I am with the program manager for the ESCR project. I'm joined here tonight with colleagues from DDC and many of our sister agencies for our community advisory group meeting number 61. So some of the things that we're going to go over this week or this month, the construction progress, we'll have an environmental report, and then we'll talk a little bit about site access and some of the community events that we have coming up and that are ongoing that we've done recently. So just as school gets back into session, we wanted to remind everybody about the ESCR to Your School program, which has these sort of 4 different opportunities to bring ESCR into the classroom, whether that is our team coming directly into a classroom to present information on the project. We can also bring students around the Project Area 2 and Project Area 1 sites. Now that more space has opened up in the southern portion of East River Park, it's a really great chance to see the new park and talk about the resilient infrastructure that lies beneath it. We participate in career days as well, where we can talk about the multitude of roles that are available on a project like this. And then we can also work directly with educators to incorporate lessons related to climate change and resiliency into their lesson plans. We recently put out a bulletin that includes a compilation of some hiring resources and information on some of the local agencies that we partner with for our Work With Us program. It provides an overview of some of the employment goals that we have on the project. We published this back in August, and you can access it on our Work With Us, on the Work With Us side of our website. It's also Family Day season. So this past weekend, we were out at NYCHA Reese tabling at their Family Day. So if you guys hear of any tenant association, block parties, family days that are coming up and you'd like us to have a table to answer questions or provide information about ESCR, please reach out and we are happy to be there. And then exciting, we have the opening celebration for the Phase 1 portion of East River Park. That's going to be on Sunday, September 28th from 12 to 5 p.m. You can think of it as kind of an open house for the park. It's very much a community-led event with support from NYC Parks and from DDC, but many of the groups that are on this CAG and many of the other active groups around the Lower East Side are really leading the charge on this. There's going to be a lot of really exciting opportunities with the Parks Department about, talking about urban ecology with the Parks Rangers. They'll have some information on how to work the permitting system in the park, free sports clinics, and then throughout the day there will be live music and performances from the newly opened amphitheater. And it'll all start at about noon with a parade over the Corlears Hook Bridge. So come to Corlears Hook Park. We're also celebrating, obviously, the opening of a nice big section of Corlears Hook Park. So we'll start there and we will head over the bridge at noon, and we hope you all can make it. We also just launched a quick web page just to host any updates we have on the information. So you can access that at nyc.gov/ESCR/celebrate. And we'll keep that updated as we get closer to the event. It may also host some day of resources and things like that. So we're really looking forward to that. Here's our typical overview slide, the 3 project areas. Most of our updates tonight are going to be focused on Project Area 1, though we do have some updates for Parallel Conveyance and Project Area 2. A snapshot of the contracts. This is basically highlighting the major changes that have happened since our last meeting, our last virtual meeting in July, reflecting the new openings in East River Park, which include the amphitheater, the northern tennis courts, the Esplanade areas around those amenities, and then the Corlears Hook Park flagpole area and the Corlears Hook Bridge. The Pier 42 connection has also reopened, and then the 3 access points north at Houston Street and North are closed for construction in those areas of the park. Up in Stuyvesant Cove Park, we are excited to see the opening of the East 23rd Street entrance with the completion of Solar One. I have some photos of that. And then Corlears Hook, or I'm sorry, Parallel Conveyance. These are the different locations that we have for that project. Like I said, in Project Area 2, the Solar One building, which was separate from ESCR, was recently completed. That allowed us to reopen the entrance at East 23rd Street, so you can now walk, the full length of Stuyvesant Cove Park from the street side. So we're very happy to see that open up. There are some punch list items that are still going on through Project Area 2, but most of the major work that you would see is complete. Some photos of the Solar One building, which again was separate from ESCR. On the left is the building itself with the Esplanade on the right side of that photo, and then those 2 photos on the right side of your screen are the newly opened East 23rd Street entrance with a vehicle gate and bollards at the entrance to the park. Moving on to Project Area 1, we have construction activities all throughout the project. At the southernmost end, where you see the 1 on the map, we have flood wall and floodgate operations going on. The Montgomery Street parking lot is being restored. That's under the FDR. We have some photos of both of those operations in a couple of slides. Moving further north, but remaining in the red area of this map, in that small sliver, there is a parks maintenance and operation building being constructed, as well as the tennis building. In areas 3 and 4, we have excavation, Esplanade reconstruction, more work on the East Houston Street retaining wall, and then clean fill installation for the portions of the park where construction is a little bit further along. In the areas that have just closed, we get started on that deep sewer work, flood wall construction, and then excavation of those areas. In location 5, which is there near Reese Houses, we have some night work for utilities. And then at the north end of the Reese complex, we are preparing for the flood wall construction that will cross the FDR and run along the property there at East 13th Street. Number 6 is basically encompasses all of the newly opened areas, so East River Park as well as Corlears Hook Park. We have minor punch list items going on through there as that handover continues. And then along the FDR Drive, we have partial lane closures, usually at night, and that's to accommodate bridge work or utility installations or anything that requires us to close a lane of traffic for the safety. We do have quite a bit of night work going on within the park itself. This has been going on this week, and it will keep going for another 2 or 3 weeks. There is a bit of night work, like I said, up near Reese at East 10th Street. This is to accommodate utility work and manhole construction, and that requires partial lane closures on the FDR Drive. So that's what this photo here is of. You can see the trench that is right there at the FDR Drive service road near Reese. You're looking towards the East River and East River Park in this photo. These activities can be disruptive and loud. As always, if you hear something, say something. So if it's particularly disruptive, please try to take a video and contact our CCL so that we can get to the bottom of it and address it. We do not want to cause any more annoyance than we already are by working in the park at night. And then, as always, we have the noise, vibration, and air quality monitors in place around those activities. Some construction photos. Like I said, this is the deep sewer work that happens when we start work in a new area. You can see these trenches are pretty deep. This is on the right side is the steel formwork for some of the infrastructure that's related to the sewer. And then moving forward to the Montgomery Street area. On the left side, this is under the FDR Drive. That's the flood wall where they're doing some finishes, and then this worker is standing in the H&H parking lot, which is in the process of being restored. On the right side, you can see some of the work that's going on on the FDR Drive northbound ramp. On the left side of that photo, you can see floodgate 2, which is that second swinging floodgate that we installed a couple of months ago there on that ramp. Moving into the park opening photos, these are some really nice photos that Pauline took recently. She was in the park on Saturday. She said that there were like 6 birthday parties going on in different areas of the park. So it's very exciting to see the community coming back into the park and really embracing that space. And then on the right side, you see some of the new seating areas that just opened up right along the waterfront there. For what we've heard, the compost facility, which is located south of the amphitheater, or will be located south of the amphitheater, the project team for that will be presenting at Community Board 3 Parks Committee next month on October 6th. Also at that meeting, the 14th Street Connector, which is that overwater greenway that is near the Pinch Point and the Con Ed facility. The DDC team will present a very high-level overview at CB3 Parks on October 16th, as well as the CB6 Land Use and Waterfront Committee on September 29th. We've gotten a couple of questions about the parallel conveyance work near the Delancey Street Bridge, and we've been able to confirm that the bridge will not close for any of the parallel conveyance work that's taking place in that area. Also, with the closure of the north end of the park and the Jewish holidays coming up, we wanted to get out there and improve our wayfinding signage from those newly closed areas, directing folks to park access at Delancey Street and Corlears Hook and Pier 42. Again, if you see any opportunities for additional signage, please let us know so we can look into that. For environmental monitoring in August, our machines were mostly in the same areas throughout the park. We had several alerts throughout the month. It was a dry month, and we are going to remind the contractor to apply more dust mitigation efforts, especially when it's such a dry month. So hopefully we can get some of these numbers down in future updates, but we are going to, again, reiterate to the contractor the importance of using water and other dust suppression techniques to keep dust to a minimum. In parallel conveyance, we have sewer installation underway or about to get underway in the 4 areas to the south. That's where most of the work is still concentrated. And then in the 2 areas up north, it's still mostly utility relocation and test pits. Some photos of the sewer work that's going on near Water Street and Jackson Street. The left side is that deep sewer work connection at that intersection, and then on the right you can see some of the sheeting that goes into those deep trenches to support the trench and protect the workers. On the right side is Jackson Street. The contractor is applying backfill and temporary asphalt there while the sewer work continues on Water Street. And once Water Street is wrapped up, restoration of this whole area will come at a later date. Most of the remaining work for parallel conveyance in this area will be at the very end of Jackson Street near the FDR Drive and in Corlears Hook Park. Further north at Delancey Street South, this is a test pit to locate the existing sewer. So that's some of the early stages of the deep sewer installation that will come under parallel conveyance. And then at Columbia Street, some of the utility work that is ongoing with Con Edison, while the deep sewer work the deep sewer is also being installed in that area. So that's our update. I'm happy to take any questions.
Frank, and then Michael.
Excuse me, sorry. Thank you, Ethan. And also, before I ask my 2 questions, I did want to say thank you to you and the team because, as you know, I come to you with certain issues that have been going on, particularly with the PC work, and you guys have always been very responsive. So I always think it's important to recognize that. So thank you. 2 questions. One is, I'll start with the PC for a second. And Paula was nice enough to supply the CAG with some answers because we understand that the plans have changed, that you're going to be using the location down near Smith Houses I think it probably almost isn't worth repeating, but I'll say that for a lot of us in buildings, subsidized housing in particular on the waterfront, the flooding issues became more about that kind of bathtub effect or the flooding in our basements. So I've always been paying particular attention to the PC work because I'm as frightened about that and all the CSO that happens from that. And those are really, I don't know if people realize it, but like they're really damaging to infrastructure in our basement. So can you just almost in a way, I just want to confirm again. So even though that won't be completed until projected end of 2026, that the removal of it at Colliers Park, that there really is going to be no detrimental effect. Like it isn't, I mean, again, I'm a layperson here in this, but it would seem almost beneficial to have more than one. But this is, I guess, assuming coming from the engineers that they feel confident that moving it down only to the one location and not putting it into the two, which was the prior plan, would be sufficient.
Yes, so there will still be an underground structure installed in this location. So the capacity is not going to be reduced at all by eliminating the building that is in this area. It was just that it became overly redundant. There's already redundancies built in, but this is just the building would essentially not be needed to be used. But with the removal of this building and using the BMCR interceptor gate building and the northern interceptor gate building under ESCR, the capacity won't be reduced at all. It'll still provide the same level of flood protection as before.
Got it. Okay, so that's interesting, and I appreciate that. So it was in a sense overly redundant, if you will, and I didn't realize. I don't know that that's how it was presented in the beginning, but I will take that as the word. My second question then, very quickly, is having to do with Montgomery Street, right next to the intersection of the flood wall. And on the northern side, so the side that's adjacent to Gouverneur Gardens, there and there are kind of two questions to this, but the first part would be, is it correct to state that the parking was removed from there because of the flood wall implementation and build out? Because it currently has no parking there, right? Would that be correct?
I am not sure about that. I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, so let me just then say the second part and then I'll leave you to get back because right now that area has a no parking sign and it's parking that's removed from the community. On the other side of Montgomery Street where the school is, there's already no parking in a portion of that. Now, what's happened, and I realize that this is not anything to do with DDC, but in my mind's eye, it's still connected. What's happening is that because of Basketball City, Pier 36, and all the changes in how they are designing their events, which is to say that they are using their parking lot for outdoor spacing, etc. And anybody knows who's been in the area, it's a parking nightmare, meaning it's a intersection that I always knew was going to be a disaster, and it's still being worked through, of course. But it is, I would argue it's somewhat dangerous to pedestrians, but nonetheless, from EDC, in my communications with them, they are now looking to make that a ride share area access on Montgomery Street. And I just wanted to understand because it seems like they're capitalizing on the fact that there's a no parking sign there, and now they're using it all the time for either parking for EDC or for, again, ride shares to be all lined up there. And I feel like that's kind of a slip shot into like permanently removing public parking, especially considering it feels particularly offensive because it's being removed for the benefit of a private business. So the question would be, for you, DDC's portion of this, is that no parking sign that's been put there because of the flood wall implementation? And when would that sign go down in DDC's mind to return back to public parking?
Okay, yeah, I'll look into that and I'll find out whether that's just for construction or if it's a permanent no parking sign, and I'll let you know what I find.
Yeah, because I've noticed in this community what happens is that like people like to insert these things when no one's paying attention, then all of a sudden it becomes permanent and you're like, how did this happen? And it's like agencies of the city working against what I would say the public's best interest is. All right, thank you.
Good, you got it.
All right, Michael, you're next.
All right, Ethan, I have a list for you, so I apologize in
Okay.
advance, but in true Seinfeld fashion, it's the airing of the grievances.
Okay.
A bunch of questions, actually. So first, and most of them relate to the Corlears portion. No surprise there. So the first question has to do with the drainage and flooding. So I know that right now the sewer grates are covered because the openings are too large, and I think dogs' paws are falling into them or whatnot. So what is the timeline for those being replaced? And related to that somewhat, because we are now experiencing flooding issues in Corlears, from the water running down the elevated portion into the non-elevated portion, what is the plan to mitigate that, and when is that going to happen?
So I unfortunately don't have timelines for you, but I will tell you that we're aware of both of those things. The grates, I spoke with Frank about this too recently, actually. The grates, yes, that's a temporary condition because the holes are too large and they could cause a hazard. So we have the mesh over them for the time being. I know that we're working on that. I'll try to find out what the timeline is for resolution there. And then with the drainage, yes, Bob brought that to our attention, and we're also taking a look at that. So I can't offer you an answer right now, but we're looking into both of those items.
Right. Awesome. So now on to the next sort of harder of the questions is, I think there's still construction material there right now, but is there any plan for any sort of protection at the most eastern entrance on Cherry Street? This is the entrance that people come off the FDR highway, and it's a straight shot. And if there's not something there, it's another July 4th disaster waiting to happen. So is there a plan for anything to be put there?
Yes, and the reason that the equipment is still there is for that reason. So a solution is in the works, and I can also try to get a timeline for that implementation for you.
And somewhat related to that, and I have a feeling it's going to be a different answer. Because the bollards were moved inside the park into the oval area, there's nothing now at the other Cherry Street entrance that's reopened. So we're already seeing park enforcement patrol cars zipping into that entrance and zipping down the other way. And so is there a plan to put anything there as well?
I'm not sure. I think I will have to defer to Luke on that if he's available.
He's available. How's everyone going? It's Luke. I'm the parks manager, if you don't know me. Just to touch on the first question you had, Michael, regarding that entrance going under the bridge. We are kind of the reason why there was this difference ties back to what Frank was talking about, how they had changed the design for what had to be there for flood mitigation. So it no longer makes sense to have precisely what was going to be there before, because it doesn't need to be as vehicle accessible. So we're still refining exactly what's going to be there, but it's going to look something like a swing gate or some vehicle control measure, because the intent is not to have vehicles going down there. For the other section that you mentioned, right now there is not a plan to block vehicles from accessing where you mentioned. It sounds like it's more of a, like, we just need to communicate to park staff, because the parks enforcement, I think historically have been in there, but they shouldn't be zipping around. So I can communicate that, we've been getting complaints about the speed and the danger associated with that. But I guess I'm somewhat happy to hear that we haven't had civilians going in, which would be more concerning, but I'll convey that. And maybe we do need a design change long-term, like putting a rock or something.
Yeah, one of the planters. All right, so now to somewhat of the easier questions, and Luke, you might want to stay on because I think some of these are probably easier answered by you.
Not going anywhere.
Is there so we noticed during the construction and the planting that items were being watered by a hose that led somewhere. So is there a new water source in this area as well that we can utilize, or was that just a temporary water source?
To my knowledge, there's not, but I'll look into where that was coming from.
The other thing is, just for your information, and Luke already knows this because we reported this to him, that we are already witnessing skateboarders using the amphitheater steps for edging or whatever it's called, whatever they do on their skateboards. I'm not 12 years old, so I don't know. And then I think the last couple of questions are just around the maintenance of the new area. So I'm assuming, Luke, that's a you question, because as you know, we devote a lot of time to mowing our lawns currently, but we don't have the time or the resources to mow the new lawns. So we want to just make sure that somebody else is going to be doing that.
No, it's good to know, because in some ways, you know, there's always that balance. I try to give you guys space to make sure my team doesn't accidentally destroy any of the great things you do, because unfortunately, sometimes parks employees don't know, you know, a weed from a deliberate ornamental plant. But I think if now that you've told me this, I can tell my team, like, hey, anything in that new section, that's we're mowing, but we're gonna leave you guys to do the lovely lawn mowing that you've always done.
All right.
And you're going to put us to shame. I already know, but I'll convey that.
That's great. And then we know, obviously, because of warranties and stuff, we can't do anything in that area for the next couple of years. So we're not planning to do anything as far as planting or whatever in that area. Just so you know, if I'm wrong, let me know, and we're happy to plant in that area, but I don't think we should be. And then the last question is, we had been working with Luke and I think asking Desiree a couple of times about some cobblestone that's been sort of just sitting in a pile, and wanting to recover that and reuse it in our park. And I just want to put that still on your radar to let you know that we still want it.
And Michael, I think when you're back, we should link up, because there's a larger conversation with path repaving down the road. Just to fix some of, like, not ESCR related, but just fixing some of the really rough pathing that's around there. And I introduced the aprons to some of the higher level parks leadership, and they had some ideas on how to do it in a more permanent way, as opposed to what we've been discussing, which is like plopping in the cobblestone. So I think we can still get you cobblestone if it's for what, like, I know you guys use it to protect plants and trees.
Yeah.
But I think there's a more robust conversation that we should have on the ground.
All right, so let's schedule something when I'm back, and Bob can reach out to you about the cobblestone.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Diane, you are next, followed by Wendy and then Robin.
Okay, so hi, Ethan. I was kind of expecting you to mention, as you did at CB3 Parks, when we can expect to see an updated schedule for the project.
Yes. So the only reason I omitted it from this was because we were just at CB3 last week.
Okay.
But by the end of this year, we will have a new Gantt chart.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. I just think there are probably a few people here who were not able to make that meeting, so I just wanted to check on that and just make sure there weren't any changes. And then my other question is about the circle on 10th Street in Reese. It's, you know, it got pretty destroyed when the sewer work was taking place. And now, you know, I think you guys are going to be starting the new ramp fairly soon. So my question is there a plan to restore that area at the end of the project? And you know, is that covered under ESCR, or is that expected to be done separately?
Yes, any damage that was caused during ESCR will be restored. And I'll have to check in on the specifics of within the circle itself. But I know that there's a few areas around East 10th Street that will be fully restored when we're done with the bridge.
And I'm randomly familiar with the circle because it's a parks property, and we basically stopped inspecting it for a while. And so it was on my radar as like, what's going on with this circle? So I had asked maybe a year ago. I think the conceptual idea was they were going to return it back to generally its original state. I don't think there is like a full design, quote unquote, like we have for the rest of the parks. And I believe there was some room for putting, plants and things of that nature in a more decorative way than maybe what was there before. So that might be an interesting, fun, like little thing where there's still room for evolution and whatnot. But I think it wasn't going to be completed until the end of the whole project. It was like
Got it.
closer to the end product.
Okay. Well, as long as it's going to be restored, that's great. And Ethan, since you guys meet regularly with Reese directly, that might be something that you want to talk to them about and find out what they would like to have happen there. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
All right, Wendy, it's your turn.
Hi, just have a quick question. At Lewis Street in Delancey, is there signage added? Because it seems so hidden that that's an entrance.
Signage added for directing people into East River Park.
Yeah.
I'll double check, and if not, we can certainly add some. And I know that there's a lot of parallel conveyance work going on there, so it could get lost in that shuffle. And I'll make sure that we have some clear
And
signage.
to me, that's another reason that it should be signposted already, since that's one of the, that's serving everybody who lives to the north. That and
Yes.
yeah. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, Robin, you're up.
Hi, Ethan. I just wanted to say, follow up two things. One, I noticed I was in the park today that there's still some like fabric materials over fencing along the Delancey Street Bridge, and there's graffiti all over it. So I'm hoping that can come down before the community day. I just want to also follow up on shade. I know we had been talking about bringing shade in, especially to the ball field areas, and I'm wondering what has happened with that topic.
Just to speak quickly to the bridge, the mesh, the fencing that is on the bridge right this second is temporary construction fencing, so that's the reason why there's still mesh on it. I'll follow up with the team and try to see if we can get some of the graffiti removed in time for the community day. And then I think for Luke, I'll throw it over for the shade question.
Well, I think it's kind of a collaborative thing with shade. I think the desire for the community is to, modify in a minor way the future design so that there's some kind of shade over the dugouts or some temporary shade solution. I think right now there is no plan to do that. I think with parks, like we tried implementing, I know it wasn't sufficient, but we did put up the kind of netting over two of the dugouts, and that was kind of my attempt to do something for it. But I don't have a more robust answer other than I'm hoping that the trees grow quickly and that provides some shade.
Okay. Thanks for that answer. Also, I think we're going to be some bleachers put in for people to watch games. Was that also something that we had been discussing, I believe?
The bleachers, if I recall correctly, were installed with this latest opening. Luke, do you know?
Yeah, there's bleachers there.
Oh, I didn't notice them, so maybe I didn't see them, but maybe I wasn't close enough. Okay, well,
I
thanks.
want to say now I'm trying to remember precisely, but I want to say they're on the north side and they were put in.
Okay.
But just since September 5th.
Yeah, okay, thanks so much. That's it for me.
Do you guys
Any
mind if
other
I do a quick update?
Go for it.
I just had just two things. So one, I know there was a number of issues with the stadium lights around fields 1 and 2, resulting from power issues, etc. But no excuse. Just really sorry to hear that impacted people with the lights overnight. The positive news, though, is we did, as of 2 nights ago, install a wireless control device on it. So previous to this, we had to go off of a timer or manually change it, and it was leading to just problems where the lights would be on when there weren't games being played, or they wouldn't be on when the game was supposed to be played just from miscommunication, etc. So now the intent anyway is for the lights to only be on when there's a scheduled game. So if there's no scheduled game that goes beyond 7, 8 p.m., then the stadium lights should not be on, and then they should turn off when the game is complete. So that's just a positive thing that we're doing even as the park's turned over. The other thing I just wanted to put out for everybody is we're making a very concerted effort in the new park to not have kind of random storage or sports related things that are kept in the park. I know historically there was a lot of stuff that leagues would bring in and kind of chain to the fence so that they could use, for their specific game. But we're removing that without any kind of pre-approval. Like, it needs to be communicated. So anything that's left out on the field, specifically fields 1 and 2, has a few items that weren't pre-approved, that weren't part of the design. We'll post notices on it, but I'm just trying to get it out there that anything that wasn't put in by DDC or the Parks Department is something that we don't want people to just put out there without pre-approval. And that's all I have, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Just want to make sure that there are no other questions. All right. Well, thanks, Ethan, Luke, and team.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take care.
All right, CAG. It's just a quick time check. It's about 4:40. I propose that we move directly into the CAG only portion. But if someone has a strong objection or really needs to use the bathroom, don't feel embarrassed and just speak up. All right, I guess we'll power through. So as usual, I'm going to open up this CAG only portion to you guys to see if there's anything that you want to bring up that you haven't already emailed me and Tara about, or anything related to what you heard today. The floor is open.
I'm just wondering, maybe Robin can give us an update on the 28th and let us know how we can help get the word out.
Oh, thank you so much. I will do that. So the 28th is Community Day, working with Damaris from Goals on this. And the commissioner, Manhattan Parks Commissioner, and her team been very helpful. We are going to be celebrating the park in 2 ways. One, we're going to be activating the amphitheater. We're going to be starting off with really community focused artists, and mostly music and some dance. A lot of kids and local artists are going to be performing all day from around 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We're going to begin the day at noon with a processional march with the Earth Celebration folks and anyone else, and the Honk festival, the Honk brass band. We're trying to get as many people, and mostly families and kids, to participate in that processional. It's really, to bring people into the park and to introduce them or welcome them over the new Corlears Hook Bridge. So we'll be starting there. But also, while that's happening, so actually there's a processional going through the park at noon, going all the way around up to along the new Esplanade, and up to the barbecue pit area, and then making a big sort of loop at the Delancey Street Bridge and heading back to the amphitheater. And at 12:30, there will be welcoming speeches. I don't know exactly yet who is speaking. I'm hoping to find that out tomorrow. If any of you are in the community meeting around about that, we're meeting tomorrow. So that's yet to be determined. And then really the afternoon is there's a whole bunch of activities happening. The Parks Department's involved, the Rangers are involved, Partnerships for Parks is involved, our East Side Ecology Center is involved. It's a day to really get people to learn and know the park, not only its resilient qualities and how to compost and what's happening there with the trees and the plantings and all that, but also to really get the community to understand and learn about how do you get a permit to all these different locations, to really learn about the park and how to make use of it. Because I believe when Damaris talks about this, there's a big a big gap from people who live alongside the park and use our park every day to really how to get permits and all. So that's really it's a combination of that, of those 3 topics: entertainment, just activating the amphitheater. The amphitheater is not 100% completed, which I would love us to talk about as a CAG going forward, because I think there's a lot of problems with the design of the amphitheater, many of the things that we discussed in these meetings and in the parks meetings. So as far as help, I have a flyer. I can just send it to everybody, or maybe I'll send it to you, Paula, and you can send it to everybody.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
Michael just shared it in the chat, but you should send it to me too.
oh, okay, great. You know, it's really a community celebration. It's really to say, here's our new park. This is how we got here. This is why we're here. This is why they rebuilt it. There's going to be a lot of information tables from different organizations. Or talking. Diane, you want to talk about what you're going to be doing? You're also doing a tabling and participating, right? The stewardship of this park and how people can
Oh,
be
well,
involved in it as well.
yeah, we're gonna just be with Partnerships for Parks, because they want to do some events in the park in the future. And so that they want to be there and let everybody know that, in addition to the great work that the Lower East Side Ecology Center is also doing, Partnerships is there to, schedule stewardship events and, to the point that Michael made before, talking about Cordeliers. We can't do what Partnerships usually does, which is they plant lots of bulbs. We're not going to be able to do that for a couple of years, right? Because of the warranty on the plants. And so, but Partnerships is still interested in getting out there and letting everyone know that they're part of the park.
Great. And I know that the Lower East Side Ecology Center is going to be, of course, there, but there's going to be some composting. There will be some free food, hamburgers and hot dogs. We're getting some, Damaris is bringing in some grilling. And so, but at the same time that we're doing that, we also want to, talk to people about, take in what you bring in, you take out, and how do you compost and those sorts of things. Some of the groups, what other groups? Yeah, there's going to be some city council, Carlina's office or Carlina's ex-office is going to be tabling, working with other community groups, the Lower East Side, CPIA, which is a community-based group, Darcel Kennedy, who's been working in the park and using the amphitheater for 25 years or more, bringing community artists in. So it's that kind of a day. Friends of Corliss Hook is going to be there, obviously. And the park rangers will be there also. So hopefully it's going to be, a very busy, engaged day. There is a scavenger hunt that people will get a card and they will get to go to all the different areas where there will be activities for them, mostly the tennis courts, ball fields, basketball courts, those places. Again, once you get a stamp, there's a tote bag you'll get, that kind of thing. As far as help, promoting this to our community is really a great help. Trying to, participating in the processional. Hopefully that's the joyous sort of, ribbon cutting over the Cordeliers Hook Bridge that we're looking for. Any help, setting up in the morning, if you want to do any of that help setting up in the morning for us, or we have some tables and tents and things like that, or helping clean up in the at the end of the event. Those are kinds of ways to help. I will actually, if I guess what can I do? I'll share my email right now and people can just email me, or I will through Paula. But that's what we're doing. And the idea came about, I just let you all know who's not involved in it. The idea came about because we didn't know if there was going to be a ribbon cutting or not, a typical, Parks Department, city agency, 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning ribbon cutting. And I really wanted to activate the amphitheater. It's not completed yet, but at least we're going to activate it and do it on a weekend when the actual community can come. And same for Damaris. She didn't want just to have this ribbon cutting with elected officials saying what a great job we did. We really wanted to have she wanted to really get the community to come to the park and teach them about it and get them involved and why we have this park and why this whole reconstruction happened. So that was the idea for doing this on a weekend. And hopefully it will get the people will come out, and at the same time, that was the idea. I don't know if anyone here has ever been to a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock ribbon cutting. No
Some of
kids.
us have for the first part, right?
Yeah, right. It's like, who's here? All right, the one school group that they managed to get to sit on the ground and be there, and that's about it. So that was the idea. Oh, Shahida is on. Shahida from Goals is here. Hi, Shahida. Shahida's working with me on the lineup, and she's brought some great local talent. So this is really local talent, a local talent day. This is not the big, for the local talent on the amphitheater. This is not about like, let's do the biggest concert we can and bring as many people to the park. This is totally homemade, homegrown community day.
Thanks, Robin. Sounds exciting.
You're welcome. Shahida, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
A little bit.
No, I didn't get it either. I just wanted to mention that LES Ready will be tabling.
Now we can't hear you anymore.
It's good you put it in the chat.
Yeah, LES ready.
Right. That's good. The preparedness piece is important. I was going to mention something that, you mentioned the bulbs, and the planting. I went to the the Solar One party. They have added planters that sit on just right next to the, alongside the path with native plants. And they're kind of at the end of the season right now, but it might be something we could do for bulbs if we want to bring some pops of color early in the spring into the park. So, and I know that's a distraction from the event, but I'm very excited that this showcase will take place. So thank you, Robin and Shahida and Damaris for working on it. I know it's a heavy lift.
Yeah, and the only other help I would say is to talk to Mother Nature and hope that rain that's forecast isn't coming. Talk to the people that are manipulating the weather. I found out when I was in Florida that they are controlling the weather, and I've asked them to make it a sunny day on the 28th. I don't know how many people here have been in the park. All the things that we've always talked about. Some people, right, who here's been on the committee, it's on Parks Committee for 10 years or whatever, trying to get the park built. And it's interesting just to point out, like, some of what we kept telling the DDC and the designers, and they didn't do what we made suggestions for example, an entrance into the amphitheater from the Corliss Hook Bridge. It's there and it's problematic, and as a lot of other things. And we all said to them, there's too much concrete. There's too much concrete. And why is there not an entrance from the bridge? Why do you want people to walk all the way around? Whatever, stuff like that. But all in all, I commend them, and I think it's a great thing. And we had this beautiful waterfront park.
Yeah, I gotten stopped a few times this week by people just saying how nice it is to have those areas back again and how much they like them and whatnot. So
Lounge chairs by the riverside. Oh my God.
I'm going to share something that Damaris said to me today. It's really interesting how they pushed for the community that she really represents. The barbecue pits were really important to them. Barbecuing is a big component, and they really fought to get the tables and the barbecue pits. But then she said to me, but they put them under the bridge, and when the trains go by, you can't have a conversation. Really interesting. So I thought that was an interesting that's where all the barbecue tables are. So if you're having a barbecue with your friends and the trains go by, you got to stop talking. I thought that was interesting.
That's because of the shade.
Yeah, really. But I would love it if we could get the MTA involved in putting rubber tires on the J and M and Z trains. That would be really helpful.
Right. Stuff falls. I think we did talk about the pluses and minuses of stuff under the bridge. It's definitely a trade-off for sure.
Yep.
And I noticed, one of the mitigations, they took down a building, an old Parks building that was disused in Little Flower or whatever it's called on Madison Street. And they put in a asphalt lawn and a couple of grills. now all of that's torn up and I don't know what's coming. It seems like they're doing, and maybe it is even, I don't think it could be parallel conveyance work there, but, so maybe they don't feel, okay, they need mitigation anymore now that the park is starting to open back up. I don't know, but. I put in a link, there's a Rebuild by Design is doing a tour of the park. If you want to, I mean, I don't think any of us necessarily wants to go on that tour, but if you know people who've been wondering why and how, that might be an interesting walk for them.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do both an Open House New York and a Harvest Arts Fest Climate Week walk that goes into the park. So I'm trying to find ways to help people know outside the box that the park is open again. And I thought maybe by putting it on those 3 calendars, that more people will know, oh, the park's open again, I can go. Because I don't know, and I hope that a big event will get some press, so more people just generally know the park is there again.
All right, well, there was one thing I was gonna bring up during this CAG only portion, and there are very few CAG people left, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway. Just following up on what we had talked about previously, I think earlier in the summer, the notion of contacting Katie Loeb of Carlina's office, to take her on a tour to talk about the parts that are lacking in shade. So just continued shade advocacy. Is there, I imagine there's still appetite for that.
Yes, and I wonder too, do you want to invite Harvey or somebody from his office? Because he's gonna, the
Yeah.
day after the
Yeah,
election.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's, we should,
Katie is gonna be tabling at the community day also, so
Mhm.
she'll be there and
Great.
yeah. She's been very involved in this.
So what's the action next step then? Reaching out to her?
I wonder if we could get Marte's office as well. You know, as long as we're taking the time and it's in both their districts.
I do have a contact in Marte's office. If you want, I can reach out to him. The Deputy Chief of Staff.
I mean,
Also, we did have a rep that was on. I think they stepped off, but there was a rep from the office on the call.
Okay.
yeah, I think we should reach out to all 3, to Harvey's office, to Katie, and to Marche's office, and, see what we can do about organizing it.
Okay.
I see Senator Kavanaugh's office is on too. Why not invite them as well?
Yeah, if you want to, I can drop my email in the chat. If you want to send me the details, I'm sure we can have our office attend.
Terrific. Thank you. If you haven't been up to Solar One yet, wow, it's so exciting. It's really looking beautiful up there. They do have a couple of interesting flaws in the design of the new building. There's like a corridor that's hidden away in the back that could become problematic because it's open to the public. It's at ground level. So we'll see what happens there. They're advocating for a public restroom at that end. And I don't know, there isn't one. And I don't know if you've been up that way, but that's where the people who use the track went, is they're up using those bike lanes and Solar One and Space Beyond. It's full of runners now. So. And
All right, well, I guess I will make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Pardon me?
I said
Seconded.
Seconded, okay. All right, well,
Have
have a
fun
good
wherever you are,
evening,
Michael.
everyone.
and everybody else, take care.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks or a week.
Bye.
and a half.
Yeah. Come and
No,
see-
see you on the 28th.
Yeah, yeah.
No rain, no rain.
Basically a week, yeah.
All right.
Bye, everyone.